We've been wanting to do a podcast here at Silver Lining Herbs for a long time, and we welcome you to episode 1 of the Silver Lining Herbs podcast. My name is Chance Shutnick. I am the Senior Operations Manager here, and joining me is Ashley Carter, our Nutritional Advisor. Welcome.
I'm happy to be here.
Well, very good. No, we were talking about this podcast for a long time, and it's just something we've been wanting to do, and it really goes back to our mission statement. And that mission statement is we deliver natural health products and education that helps people provide optimal care for themselves and their animals. And this is a great way to do it, where we can dive into different subjects, talk about different herbs, talk about different products. You talk to customers every single day and guiding them to get to their nutritional goals, their health goals. So I'm really excited, and I'm excited to do it with you because you're on the front lines every single day with them.
Yeah, this is just a way for me to be able to reach more customers. I know, a lot of people work jobs and they're not able to reach us at our hours that we're open here. So having a source of education for them to access when works for them, I'm excited about.
100%. So I'm going to ask you this, Ashley, if somebody's never heard of Silver Lining Herbs before, they've never been exposed to it, they came to this podcast, what is the differentiator about Silver Lining and what we do here and why you love doing what you do?
I think the biggest thing for me to realize was that herbs are the purest form of vitamins and minerals, and what we're doing is giving the body the tools it needs to help heal itself. So we're not putting something foreign in the body that is covering up an issue or putting a Band-Aid on it. We're really helping the body utilize all of the vitamins and minerals to be able to do what it's meant to do naturally. So not only are they getting a great source of nutrition, but whatever ailment they have going on, the body's able to heal itself, in addition to good diet and exercise and all those other pieces of the puzzle. But we're really able to give the body the tools to do what it's meant to do naturally. No,
so true. The body always wants to heal itself. It just has to give the ingredients in order to do so. So the founder, Mickey Young, he always said this to me all the time. He's like, I can build you a house, but if you give me all the materials except for the nails, I can't build you a house. And that's what the body's saying a lot of the times is, I'm going to try to heal myself, but if I don't have the nutrients, the functional vegetation that I'm supposed to be consuming just due to, restriction because of confinement and things like that, they're not able to go out there and seek the vegetation they need. They can't do that. And that's what our purpose of here today is really to shed light on that and empower you to be able to support your horse's health more.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important because this isn't any ingredients in our products aren't something that our horses or dogs wouldn't seek out naturally if they didn't have a fence around them. Even in small instances of milk thistle in the pasture, or marshmallow down by the ditch or things like that, our horses are already seeking those out instinctually. So giving them a little extra help to do that is really cool.
Oh man, I just got all excited about just the future of this podcast, just because it's we're going to dive into all those different things. I want to talk about, mullein in August when the wildfires are out. I want to talk about burdock in the fall and dandelion in the spring. But today we're going to talk about the 6 ailments that cause lameness in horses most commonly during the winter. And it's... I was thinking about this podcast this morning when I went out to feed my horses, and yesterday it's been really wet here in Idaho lately.
Abnormally,
sloppy, nasty in the corrals, and been super warm, 40 some degrees. Mm-hmm. So it thaws out during the day, and then this morning it was 27 degrees when I was feeding, and my horses were walking on that frozen mud, and it was pretty hard for them to walk. So super appropriate conversation for us to be happening today. So Ashley, help us understand, what are some of those things that horse owners can be looking out for? And then we're going to talk about solutions to help avoid it, and so that way we don't have to even have them be an issue for us.
I think it's just being aware of seeing your horses every day, right? So if they're stepping a little bit funny and it's like, what is that? Like maybe they just stepped funny, but being aware of their normal habits. And so when those go abnormal, we're able to recognize those. Chipping hooves is a really common one, especially like you were saying around the frozen ground. Abscesses will happen as well, muscle stiffness, sometimes in our older horses, or even when you think about people that are injured, right? Like their ailment gets worse in the winter when it's cold. So if our horses have a pre-existing condition, we'll see that tend to flare up in the winter time as well.
Yeah, no, they definitely will. Also, the like poor traction. I mean, I think of this story when we were writing the agenda for this podcast, and I know two separate people that had some wet pastures this time of year, like when it's like frozen underneath and like kind of thawed out on top, and their horses were running and bucking and feeling good, and then they slip and like broke a leg and things like that. So it's worst case scenario, obviously, in that situation. But just trying to provide a environment for your horses that can avoid that. So you talked about the chipping hooves, and along with that, like bruised soles can happen because of that hard ground and things like that too. So what are some ways we can do to the environment, but also using silver lining to help it? And we're going to kind of stay kind of general on this conversation, but we're going to do a deeper dive into really understanding these issues.
I think, like you said, you went out to feed your horses this morning in that mud where they had walked, so they have those big divots of where their hooves had been, and now it's frozen, so it's uneven ground for them to walk on. I know we only have so much control of the environment, and that's probably thought out by now and squishy again. So little things is like feeding your horses on the other side of the pasture where they don't have those big, or moving their water to somewhere they don't have to walk across those things, because it's not feasible for everybody to maintain their pasture perfectly every day. That's just not a realistic part of being a horse owner.
Well, that's exactly what you said. Like, it's for some people, it's just not an option for them, and so that's when we're talking like, what can we do like preventatively to help those guys out then? Yeah,
and so like with the feet and bone support, that targets our entire structural system of our horses, so all the bones, tendons, and ligaments. So if they've been on this previous to winter when these conditions happen, their body's more prepared to handle things that would make them more uncomfortable if they were not.
Absolutely. So, even to prevent the bruise, but also to treat the bruise, that'd be the exact same thing, because those different herbs that are in there are going to be helping increase that blood flow to the extremity. And that's really what we need, because especially this time of year, those horses aren't moving around as much, and they need some blood flow to the feet.
Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned strains of the joints and the ligaments, and one story that comes to my mind when I think about that, I worked for a couple in college, and he had a calf horse, and they were trotting their horses, and it was kind of muddy and mucky a little bit, but they were getting ready for a rodeo, and bowed a tendon because they kind of got stuck in the mud, literally, with their horse. So, I mean, obviously trying to avoid that kind of ground would be obviously good, but it's, like you said, sometimes it's unavoidable. So what do you do in those situations?
It really comes down to listening to your horse, right? Because we know people that have an injury to their horse, and their horse carries that pain well, and physically there's nothing that you would notice off about them, but their behavioral change. So they're more upset, a little bit short-tempered, maybe they don't want to do what you're asking them to do, and it's like, okay, what's the root cause of this? So really going back to finding the root cause of whatever is causing the symptom. So in that case, it's behavioral, but so you're thinking, why are you acting this way? But really it's because they're in pain from that tendon or joint or ligament issue. So just really, because your horses will tell you when something's wrong and they're off. So we just really need to listen to them and let them tell us what they're feeling.
Well, that's important, because like what I think about is like sometimes you're like, okay, I'm trying to trot and it's a little like slick out, but it's not that bad kind of thing.
Right.
And they're being a little apprehensive, but we're like, we kind of spur them or encourage them to keep going, but we got to really understand why are they communicating this? Could it be some kind of pain or something like that?
And there's always balance to that too, right? Like Every time they do that, is it because they're having something in pain? Probably not.
Right.
You know, they have just as big of personalities as people do, and if they don't want to do something one day, they might not. So.
Yep. No, for sure. But yeah, just looking for like consistency there, and if it's abnormal or something like that, that's
yeah,
gonna be like,
just acknowledging it.
Exactly.
If it's there the next day, then maybe take a closer look at it, but just the acknowledgement of something that's happening.
100%. In the same situation, feet and bone support, getting blood flow there, help the integrity of the structural system out, like you said. So this is something, abscess formation, and we can talk about thrush in this context too, because a little bit of the same, but this is the thing that I'm concerned about with my horses being kind of in a little bit of a muddy situation right now. So what is an abscess, what's thrush, and like what do we do for it?
Infection.
Yeah.
Right. So any type of viral, fungal, or bacterial infection would be our INFX. So fighting that infection off naturally, no matter what kind of infection that is, and being able to, again, increase blood flow to that area so our horses are able to push all those toxins and impurities out of their body.
Yeah, absolutely. And like my horses right now, where they're in the mud a lot of times, like many people's horses are in the winter and the spring, it's hard to avoid that. Luckily my horses can go out into the pasture, or we'll put straw down and try to make ways that we'll clean out their feet and things like that. But it's still there, it's still prevalent, and so that's something that I'm definitely concerned about in my own horses. Also too, by walking on that frozen ground, that can cause a stone bruise, that can turn into an abscess. We have to be really aware of that. So usually it's like you see them like walking tenderly, like on soft ground. So like because the thrush is in the frog of the foot, in the heel of the foot, so they'll be like tender on the heel. Whereas a stone bruise, the abscess, it can be in different areas of the foot, but typically it's more like on the toe area or quarter of the hoof. And so, yeah, INFX is exactly what you do in that situation.
And then feet and bone too, to promote healthy hoof growth, so that we can get rid of all that bad part of that hoof that's hanging out.
Exactly. No, absolutely. We're going to dive into that more in a future episode. Muscle stiffness, especially as senior horses. We have a senior horse at our house, and she lays down and she gets up and can be a little bit stiffer moving. Thankfully we have silver lining herbs to help her out much more than that. But just like you and I, well, maybe not you, you're a lot younger than I am, but
I've got some old battle wounds.
Okay. But cold can cause some stiffness and things like that, so we have to do something,
especially because we don't move the same in the winter as we do in the summer either, right?
It's
so we're not out riding our horses as often in the winter as we do in the summer, so we're both feeling it.
Yep, absolutely. So it's a more inactive time of year, so it causes some more stiffness, and we have to do something about it. What do we do? The
best thing to do in that scenario is to be prepared headed into winter. So preventative, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So if we can get their structural system feeling good with feet and bone before winter hits, they're more prepared to deal with that cold and that stiffness that happens throughout winter.
Perfect. That's exactly it. It makes such a difference, and we're going to dive into those different herbs and exactly what the why that happens in there. The other thing is, and this kind of goes a little bit with like the stiffness and things like that, but pre-existing injuries, and they can get exacerbated in these situations, right? So whether that's like, if you had an old bowed tendon that's causing an issue again, or some big knees, or a stifle injury, or what have you, that can all cause some different things, and really the same protocol in that situation. Yeah,
absolutely. And the same thing in humans, right? Like when we have an injury, it always gets worse when it gets cold outside. So our horses feel it the same way. So if we can get them prepared, again, going into winter, that's what's best for them.
Absolutely. No, very good. And I told a little story about the poor traction at the beginning, and horses will slip and slide and kind of like grimace and and like, oh, don't go on the fence.
They stay upright.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Come on, be safe out there. But, they can step in a hole, trip on something or anything like that. What are we using for prevention, just to keep the body strong in those situations?
Feet and bone.
Yeah.
Just the entire structural system. So again, all the bones, tendons, ligaments, cartilage, everything from the feet to the teeth. So if we can keep the structural system strong, it makes everything, all the other tissues around it, strong too.
100%. Well, these are the things to look out for in the winter months. These are the things that horses are most prone to having them have lameness in the winter months. And in these future episodes, we're going to be diving into exactly more about the issue, more about the protocols we have, not only silver lining, but what else can we do? Because it's all a piece of the puzzle. We truly believe that it takes the whole a village to make it all work properly, right? So we're going to be diving into that. I hope you got a tidbit out of this, had some awareness, so you can do something to help your horse more, and we look to make a difference for you guys.
Awesome. I can't wait.